All right, let's save this document and we're going to start another project exercise, and we're going to look at um, resolution, and we're going to look at canvas dimensions and canvas size. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to choose Save As. I'm going to give the document a name. I'm going to save it as a PSD, and I'm going to name it as exercise2.psd. And click Save. And now I've successfully saved my document. I'm going to close that document. And if I want, I can open it. If I go to File, Open, and I open ducky.psd and open it, you'll see that, oh, wrong one. If I open this document and save it, you'll see that it will have all those layers, EXER2, it will have all those layers intact. So that's one of the cool things about layers, is that Photoshop, is that it's going to cap, that's the indigenous file format for Photoshop. It's going to keep those layers intact, and any other elements that you use through Photoshop will be part of that PSD. So I'm going to close that. I'm not going to save it. And we're going to open up another set of documents. We're going to open up BlueDress 72 DPI and BlueDress 300 DPI and click Open. And so what I have here is the same document. And I scanned this document, and I scanned one version of the document at 72 DPI and one version of the document at 300 DPI. And so what we want to do is we want to look at what the difference is between the document at 72 DPI and 300 DPI. And we're going to do some issues, go over some issues with navigation and understanding some of the mechanics of what's happening with the image. So let's go to the BlueDress 72 DPI image. And I can go back and forth from one image to the next by just clicking these tabs. And there's a number of different ways that I can configure Photoshop. So if I go to Window and I go to Arrange, I can choose Tile. That will tile the images all vertically. I can choose Tile and tile the images horizontally. I can go to Arrange, and I can choose Consolidate all the tabs, and I'll put them back like so. So I can look at these documents differently. I can go to Window, I can go to Arrange, and I can choose Float. And what that will do is that will take the image and make it float on top of the canvas. I can click in there, and I can choose Float, Window, Works, Arrange, and Float, and that will make the image float on inside of Photoshop. So when I first started working with Photoshop, all the images floated, and then they went back to using tabs. So then they went to using tabs. Let's go to Window, Arrange, and we're going to go back to Consolidate all to tabs, and then we're just going to go from one document to the other by clicking the tabs. So I want to go to the BlueDress 72 DPI image. Let's stack it like this, where the BlueDress 72 DPI image is on the left and the BlueDress 300 DPI image is on the right. And I'm going to click back and forth between the two. I'm going to go to the BlueDress 72 DPI image, and the first thing I want to do is I want to flip it right side up. Okay, so we're going to use a different command for that. We're going to go to Image, and we're going to go to Image Rotation. So under Image Rotation, I can flip it 180 degrees. I can flip it 90 degrees clockwise, 90 degrees counterclockwise. I can make an arbitrary adjustment, or I can flip the canvas horizontal or flip the canvas vertical. In this case, I'm going to go down and choose flip the canvas vertical. And so now the image is right side up. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little larger. Let's go to BlueDress 300 DPI, and let's make the same change. We're going to go to Image. We're going to choose Image Rotation, and let's look at 180 degrees. So what does that do? It flipped it right side up, but they're facing different directions. So be aware of the fact that when I use one or the other, the images are going to be facing different directions. There's nothing in this document to say whether it should be facing the left or the right, but be aware of the fact that if there were text on the screen or something like that, that may be a dead giveaway that the image has been flipped. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to flip it the same way. I'm going to go to Image. I'm going to go down to Image Rotation and use Flip Canvas Vertical. So now they're both right side up. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to look at the resolution of these documents. And what I want to do is I want to begin to understand how resolution affects the size of a document. So there's a couple of ways to do this. One, I'm going to click on my magnifying glass, and I'm going to say 100%. So that's giving me a one-to-one relationship between the number of pixels in the document and how it's being viewed on the screen, right? That's what that means. When I zoom in, I'm taking the number of pixels that's in that document, and I'm not actually physically changing the number of pixels. I'm zooming in on the pixels and showing 1 pixel for 2 or 4 pixels for 8 or whatever the case may be, right? So I'm going to set this back to 100%. Now I'm going to go to the BlueDress Stranded DPI, and I'm going to set that to 100%. So as you can see here, there are a lot more pixels in this document than there are in this one, right? Because both of these documents are at 100%. So that's one way that I can tell the size of the document. Now that's just an eyeball test. I can also go to Window, and I can pull up another palette called the Navigator. And I'm going to tear that loose. And that Navigator is another way that I can navigate inside of my document. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And the idea with that Navigator is that when I look at this Navigator, I can use this instead of the magnifying glass in the hand. I can zoom in and out. I can set an actual percent, 100%, okay? And so that Navigator is another really useful tool for managing your document. Now, let's go back to the BlueDress 72 DPI. So one of the first things I want you to understand is that when you open a document and you didn't create it yourself, these are the few things that you want to check for. You want to check the color modes the image is in. You want to check the image size. You want to check its resolution. And if you created the image, then you'll probably remember, or you should know. But if you don't, this is how you check that. So we're going to go up to image. We're going to choose mode. So image mode is the color mode that the image occupies, right? And so the idea is that depending on how the artwork is going to be used, you may need to modify the color mode. So for instance, if I'm creating a document that's going to be if this document was going to be part of a pro print, like a rack card, a business card, a brochure, a magazine or something like that, I would convert it to the CMYK color mode. Right now, this image is in the RGB color mode. So the RGB color mode is the correct color mode if I'm making a photographer's print, if I'm going to web, on screen, or video, right? So I check to see what color mode the image is in. The next thing I want to do is go down to image size. So this image size box allows me to resize images, and it allows me to see what size an image actually has, currently is. Okay, so we're going to learn how to do a number of different types of operations using this image size box. So right now, we don't want to make any changes. We just want to read what it says. So you see here, it says image size is 523K. Okay, so that's the size of the file. Okay, that's the file size. Then the dimensions in pixels, 404 pixels by 442 pixels. Okay, then we have this fit to original size button. Let's just leave that alone for now. Then we have the original width and the height in pixels. Okay, and the resolution is set to 72 pixels per inch. Okay, we're not going to make any changes yet. We're going to click cancel. And we're going to go over to the BlueDress Stranded DPI, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to image, we're going to go to mode, and we're going to see that the image is also in RGB color. Let's go down to image size. So this image, one image was scanned for use on the web. The other image was scanned for use as a print document. And because of that, it has more pixels, right? The number of pixels increase the quality of the image, right? So depending on how I use that image, I want to make sure I set the right resolution. If I'm using the image for web, I don't need a higher resolution. If I'm going to print the image, then I can use a higher resolution. So first thing is image size here. You'll see that's 9.84 megabytes. So this image is almost 10 megabytes large, right? That's the file size. Next is the dimensions. So this image is 1,836 pixels by 1,873 pixels. So it's a lot larger image. Also notice that the resolution is 300 DPI, right? So this image was scanned at 300 DPI because I wanted a large image that could be used for print. I'm going to click cancel. We're not going to make any changes just yet. Let's go back to 300. Let's go back to the 72 DPI image. And the first thing I want you to understand is that resolution is a one-way trip. And when we're talking about resolution, we're talking about the quality of the image. And when that image is captured, I'm setting the resolution. So when I use my scanner, I determine the resolution in the image by choosing the pixel dimensions. When I use my smartphone, I'm taking a picture with my camera. The resolution of that image will be determined by the number of pixels inside of that. And I can increase or decrease the number of pixels inside of that image. Now, after the image is captured, it's a one-way street. I can always take the number of pixels down. So I can take a high resolution image and make it a low resolution image, but I cannot take a low resolution image and make it a high resolution image, right? And I'm going to show you why that doesn't work. Now, what that means is that if you're not sure what you should be doing, shoot or scan at a higher resolution, because you can always take the file size down if you need to, right? So we're going to go back up to image, and we're going to go to image size. And what I want to do here is show you that I can't take this image and make it into, well, let me put it this way. I can make the image larger, but it's going to destroy the quality of the image, right? And so this is a no-no. So I'm going to show you why you don't want to do this. I'm going to take the resolution, and I'm going to set it to 300 dpi. So what's interesting about this is that it makes the file size larger, 8.87 megabytes. It makes the number of pixels, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't give us the quality we need, because it's just taking the pixels that are already there and stretching them or quadrupling them. And so if you look at this and compare it with this one, you can see that this image is mushy, right? It's all soft and blurry. And the reason why is because those pixels just have been stretched, okay? And so that's why you don't want to take a low resolution image and make it a high resolution image. It just doesn't work. Now, I can always take a high resolution image and make it lower. So if I go to the Blue Dress 300 dpi image, I go to image, I go to image size, and I take the resolution from 300 to 75 and click OK. You'll see that it looks fine, right? So the idea with this is that I want to look at the resolution, I want to look at the color mode, I want to look at the number of pixels inside the image, and I want to determine how that image was set up and what formatting that image is going to take place. All right, so we're going to pick this up on the other side. Let's stop here.